This is Harold. Harold is a good boy. Harold has puppies. Aww, look at them. Harold loves being pet and cheddar cheese. Harold will rip your legs off if you look at him funny. And as you lay there, helpless on the ground, bleeding, and you head towards the light at the end of the tunnel, you realize that it is not the heaven's gate. It is instead Harold's piercing gaze, calculating, ready to haunt you for the rest of eternity, in this life or the next. Be wary of Harold, for he's a monster. So, hounds have become pretty popular as of late, since the companion rework and all that, and I was wondering if they're quite as good as people make them out to be, because there's a lot of hype around hounds. So I gave good boy Harold a bit of a touch-up and... whew, my god, people weren't lying. Look at this. Just look at it. I'm not doing anything here, by the way. I'm just running around. This is all Harold. All that status and all the damage, that's just Harold. Now, just in case you don't know, Hound companions are acquired from Sisters of Parvos. Whenever you take down a sister, you can claim her Hound in the Foundry. These hounds come with random parts, but you can also get blueprints for specific parts from the sisters, regardless of whether you convert or kill them. Once you have all the parts, you can head over to Legs in Fortuna and build your customized hound. Hound abilities or precepts work like the precepts and abilities on MOAs, so you first need to get one of each hound to get all the precept mods, but once you have them, you can put them on whatever hound you want. This means you can very easily just use one of the random hounds you get from the sisters, or if you want to build a custom one, you can use whatever parts you want. Stabilizer parts determine the type of prospectus mod you get, brackets determine the type of denial mod you get, and then the hound model determines the type of audit mod you get, but also the weapon you get. And I think that's quite enough blabbering, so let's check out Harold's build. Starting off with precepts, we have Synergized Prospectus, which fires a spark that bounces in between enemies, and Repo Audit, which creates a magnetic pulse that disarms enemies within 30 meters. We of course run Vacuum because, well, vacuum, as well as Coolant Leak. This is something you don't have to run, it's a bit of a flex slot, but I like the slowing aura around the Hound. Primed Animal Instinct is also not mandatory here. We follow it up with some combination of two defense mods. For me, that's Link Fiber and Vitality, and then we get into the bonds. Manifold Bond is what makes Hound stupid because it makes its abilities proc its weapon status effects, which is why we run Repo Audit and Synergized Prospectus. They hit the most enemies in the largest area. I also had to put in Duplex Bond because we're not running the puppy precept since the puppies can't do abilities, which is really bad for Manifold Bond, so this way we at least get more hounds and we top it off with Vicious Bond for armor strip. It doesn't really matter which hound weapon you use because they're pretty much the same, it just changes the type of damage it does. One does impact and slash, one does puncture and slash, and then the Batoten, which is the one I chose, does impact and puncture. Now for the build itself, I'm actually not sure whether Primed Reach and Primed Fury actually work. It seems to be doing something, but it all looks the same. But the more important mods are Lasting Sting for status duration, Melee Prowess for status chance, Focus Radon for radiation, Volcanic Edge for heat, and then Virulent Scourge and Vicious Frost for vital. You already saw what Harold can do in the simulacrum, but I also want to show you how easily he can do it. So here comes the first spark, and the second it lands, chaos ensues. It starts bouncing around and everything is covered in status. It's crazy. It's much better in endless missions where you can pick a room and farm there, so it's not quite as good in non-endless missions since the Hound is constantly catching up to you. But to be fair, you don't need a lot of priming in non-endless missions, even in Steel Path. Also, as I've mentioned already, the build is very flexible. You don't have to run Coolant Leak, you don't have to run Primed Animal Instinct, and you don't have to run Duplex Bond. One mod that's absolutely S tier for these kinds of builds is Synth Deconstruct, where enemies damaged by the companion, which with a Hound are basically all of them, have a very high chance of dropping a Health Orb. I would feel very comfortable to have this as my only source of healing with a Hound. Plus, if you're running some sort of equilibrium effect, you get infinite energy as well. Another mod that people like to use on this build a lot is Momentous Bond, where if you kill an Eximus unit, your pet gets a bunch of random elemental damage for 30 seconds. Now, while it only applies to its base attacks, it can stack, so you can get every type of bonus damage at once, if you kill enough Eximus units. It's the best kind of build, it's very strong but also flexible, so it can be tailored to your own liking without affecting the effectiveness too much. or at all in some cases. And that is pretty much it for the video, so thank you very much for watching. As always guys, I hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, and I would also like to extend a special thank you to all the channel members. Thank you very much guys, I really appreciate your support, it means a lot to me. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.